It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, they're back from the Netherlands, and they have an update on all things Microsoft. Satya Nadella speaks to the press. Paul will analyze what's next for Windows. Could it be the ARM microprocessor and a fix for a big Outlook problem? It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 493, recorded Wednesday, November 23rd, 2016. Two people and a ham. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Igloo Software. Igloo is an intranet you'll actually like. It connects people with the information they need to do their best work. Try it free at igloosoftware.com/twit or sign up for the live demo to see it in action. And by Tracker, a coin-sized tracking device that pairs with your smartphone and keeps you from losing your most valued possessions. Visit thetracker.com right now and enter promo code WINDOWS to receive a free Tracker Bravo with any purchase. And literally brought to you by Sonic, TWiT's 10 gigabit fiber internet service provider. Join Sonic's internet revolution as they bring fast, affordable internet, phone, and TV to homes and businesses all over California. Visit sonic.com/twit to sign up for service and receive your first month free. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we talk about the latest news from Microsoft with Mary Jo Foley, allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's her ZDNet blog. Hello, Mary Jo. Have you moved into a new apartment?
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't look like you're in your house.
No, and in fact, I'm in your former home state of Rhode Island.
Oh,
right now.
Nice. It looked kind of like the smallest state in the nation.
It kind of does. Yeah.
like your apartment. You're right at home there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. You're at family's for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm at my
Wonderful.
sister's.
Well, thank your sister for letting us take over part of your day here. We appreciate it. Also, Paul Thurrott, who is back home as well. Hello, Paul, from Thurrott.com.
I'm coming to get you from the set of Sanford and Son.
You mean the outfit I'm wearing, or no? You're.
I mean, if you look behind me.
Oh, the boxes. Are you moving on
I
up?
pulled all the stuff out of my closet. Okay. I'm trying to get everything out of here, and I promise next week that'll be good.
I don't care. No one cares.
No.
I'll screw it. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, it looks like everybody else's studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Leo, why are you so dressed up?
That's a really good question. I don't know.
Are you the Grand Master of the Petaluma Thanksgiving Eve Parade?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I get to wield the turkey baton for the first time. I'm very excited about that.
Yep.
I guess because it's tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and in the United States, we have so many listeners in Canada who've already celebrated Thanksgiving last month, and around the world who don't even know. There's nothing to be thankful for. That.
Yikes!
Yikes!
Let me just take some of this rum.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I thought I'd wear. You know what? I just thought I'd dress up just to show that we white males can also show our pride, our feathers.
Oh. Wow.
Rich white men.
Plumage.
Finally. No, but we should say, by the way, before we go on, what a great show last week. And the demo of the HoloLens was the best I've ever seen. It was really, really great.
Yep. Yeah, we had this moment, the original plan, remember, was we were going to just kind of talk about it. We were going to talk about, the work they were doing with HoloLens and everything. And he was going to let us try on the HoloLens. But when Mary Jo tried it on, you could see it on his laptop. And I thought, wait, we could just push this out. I mean, it's just video out. Like, why not?
So this was you just had this insight. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Just as it happened, we're like this.
Neat.
And of course, there was a technical issue there because, you want the audience in the room to hear you. We originally remember going to share a mic. We had I don't know the exact details, but
there was a lot of last minute.
There was.
Yeah, part of the change was to accommodate this, and so we ended up going back to our normal mics and everything, but obviously this was the right thing to do. It was so awesome. Oh, so awesome. Yeah.
Well, it gave me new appreciation for it. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's the thing. And so, Wartel as a Microsoft partner, I mean, we but the blocks demo was not something that the customer would actually use. It's just a demo, but they're making actual customer solutions for HoloLens. And I think that's important because I think that's one of the things that get lost a little bit when we talk about HoloLens, that there are people actually using it in the real world and they have specific needs or whatever. And there are companies supporting that kind of thing. And they're one of them, obviously, in the Netherlands. But it was just...
it's great.
It really worked out great.
It's great stuff.
It was cool for us to see a real world implementation too, because like we said, you always see these same canned demos that Microsoft does, and this was, hey, these are apps we built and we've never seen them before, so that made it really interesting.
Neat. And Paul, did you get to do it afterwards?
No, in fact, when Mary Jo, but on purpose, because Mary Jo tried on the set and she was kind of playing through it. We kind of started talking about how we got to do this in the show and everything. And then the guy said, well, here, why don't you try? I said, no, let's, Mary Jo's doing it. She's already got the experience. She's going to go live on the air and do it. It's more important that rather than me fumbling around with it, she already had, she had just started using it. So she was, figured out the gestures and all that stuff. So I thought it was more important that we just kind of pull it off, And so and she did, she did a great job. It was
really,
great.
really, yeah. And I know the block thing isn't practical, but still,
that was fun.
Great demonstration of the capabilities. And I thought the air traffic control or the flight path thing really did show you some practical potentiality for this as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wartel. Really appreciate that. It was really great. But we're back home and now back to our dreary, boring lives.
Yeah. I love being where we were. I mean, and my daughter, it's very strange. 15 years old. You think she would just kind of hate everything at this point, but she fell in love with Harlem. I mean, which was really strange. But yeah, I could have not gotten on the plane. I think I
always feel that way. Can I just stay here another few weeks?
Yeah, some trips you're ready to go home, and you just kind of want to be home. But I was like, oh boy, I could be here.
That was a good one.
I had the same feeling when we were we were only in Amsterdam for a day, but I loved it. I really loved it. So we have a lot of fans there. You had a great turnout. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, and thank you, by the way, if we haven't said it already, to everyone who came to the show and, in the pitch black of 4 p.m. or whatever.
Exactly. I know. Yeah, here you are at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
That was great.
It was neat. Yeah, it was really cool. And it was funny because Wartel, I guess, was having an event internally the day before when they screwed up the food order. So they had the food that was supposed to be there the day before for everyone who showed up. It was just kind of neat. A lot of people brought beer for Mary Jo especially. And it was so neat. It was just such a great thing. So it was really, really nice.
Well, I'm glad you're back.
We didn't tell Leo what we did the next day, which was even weirder.
Did it involve beer?
No.
You talking about the boat that almost crashed?
What?
What did we do?
No, we got a tour of Google's offices in Amsterdam.
Right.
Nice. Were they pretty?
Yeah, they look
it's a bunch of young people
US
doing
ones.
Nothing, Leo. It's the stupidest business.
They look like New York. I thought it reminded me of the Googleplex in New York a lot.
It's this weird bubble. Like I felt a little queasy. It was nice. I mean, it was obviously really nice. And Eric Bosman, who brought us there, is actually the guy who introduced me to Wartel years ago when I did the Windows 7 thing. And so it was kind of a weird coincidence. But we were going to have lunch with him, and he said, "I have a surprise for you guys. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're just going to go do this." And he brought us to Google. So we felt like interlopers, in the world of Google. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was
we
good.
also went on a canal boat that was going to sink.
That was a little scary.
It was quite a trip.
It was. Did we lose Leo?
No, I'm just waiting to hear about the canal boat.
Oh, so here's what happened. So Paul and I took a canal boat tour. There's a million of those canal boats. So we're out there in the middle of the canals, and all of a sudden the alarm starts going off on the boat. It was just kind of a steady, like, beep, beep, and everybody's kind of looking at each other like, okay. Then it was beep, 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 and we're just going along
Joe's
the
over
canal.
there saying, the wall behind me is getting really warm.
It was.
And
I know.
I'm like,
and
okay.
I'm like, this is
That's a little nervous.
I'm like, everyone in the boat can swim, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no non-swimmers in the group.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the captain came on and she said, by the way, I know the alarm is going off, but it's nothing to worry about. We're just going to go very slow.
No, but I mean, but then it went from beep, beep, beep to bang, like it just never shut off. And so they had another boat come out and they did like a visual inspection on the outside. I guess we weren't listing. What's the term when you're low in the water or whatever? They started playing that song from the Titanic. What is it?
My heart will go on.
But, whatever, the one that we're playing on the deck.
Wow. Near my God to thee. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's when we knew it was over.
It's over. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made it back. That's actually a fun canal ride, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
really cool. It's just an hour, and it's really super pretty. Yeah, it's just such a beautiful place.
Nice.
And the alarm, you had that going on. I still hear it ringing in my tinnitus.
Yeah, me too. Nice. I know.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Ortel. Thank you, Holland. Now back to work here in the East Coast where it's snowing. Is it snowing yet? It's cold, isn't it?
It's cold.
We had little flurries the other day, but it is cold.
Yeah. But there's something to warm my little heart. Microsoft is working to bring x86 apps to ARM. What?
Yeah. So Mary Jo will explain this, but I'm curious about your impression of this because you have a lot of experience with emulating various platforms and other platforms. I'm curious if you even think this is possible. But what's the?
Well, absolutely, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I know so far about this. So right when we got back from Amsterdam, I got a tip from a source that I then ran past another source that Microsoft is actually working on doing an x86 emulation for ARM processors as part of Windows 10 Redstone 3, which means fall of 2017. So, this has been rumored before. There have been some Microsoft job postings earlier this year that kind of indicated that Microsoft was playing around with this idea. But this sounds like they're actually doing it and it's happening and it's on the roadmap for next fall. So I don't know exactly the technology involved other than it's emulation and that it's meant to bring Intel apps to work in emulation on ARM. So here's what I don't know. I don't know if there are limitations on this or which apps specifically. My guess would be like business apps that are never going to be universal Windows platform apps. I'm guessing that this is something they're doing to appease business customers. And the other crazy part of this rumor is that Microsoft is doing this in conjunction with Hewlett-Packard and that they're working together on this emulation technology. And in a way that's crazy. In another way, you can think about HP doing the Elite X3 phone. And one of the problems with that phone is how do you get x86 apps to display through Continuum on big screen devices. The way you do it right now is you have to have some kind of a remote desktop solution or something that lets you connect in some way to your x86 apps on your server if you're a customer and display them through Continuum on your large screen. That's practical for some really big enterprises that have that kind of technology through Citrix or through Microsoft. But if you don't have that, you're kind of left out right now because all you can use Continuum for is to run UWP apps. And those aren't really your traditional business apps, which is what business customers obviously care about.
I have nothing to add to that. That was very thorough.
Very nice.
Everything she said is exactly right.
If you remember Windows on Windows, I know Paul does, and a lot of our listeners will. That was the idea of having an emulator that let you run 32-bit apps on 64-bit Windows. This is like that, except x86 apps on 64-bit ARM.
Well, yeah, so we're crossing architectures here. I think back to things like the Caruso processor from Transmeta, or even things like running a virtualized Windows environment on a PowerPC Mac, that kind of thing, right? And so. Or even emulation. We've done emulation on both previous generations of the Xbox. The Xbox One can run Xbox 360 apps using probably virtual machines, but basically an emulated environment. And the Xbox 360 did the same for original Xbox apps. And so, these sorts of things have existed. But yeah, the ability to run x86 desktop applications, line of business applications, full office, whatever, on an ARM-based device is 50% of the holy grail for the platform, right? I mean, unfortunately, the other 50% is the mobile apps that will never exist on Windows Phone, I guess. Doesn't solve that. And I also, it occurred to me later, because we've been sort of talking about this all week in a way. The thing that just occurred to me, in fact, while Mary Jo was speaking about it, was that you have to think that this was the fallback plan, right? That the original plan was to get Windows 10 mobile on Intel chips and running on those small devices, and that would solve the problem, obviously, but that Intel scaled back its plans for mobiles. Remember, they canceled the Atom chipset that would have gone into those phones, I think back in the spring, or maybe it was the summer, earlier this year.
Great.
Leo, are you buying this?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, so what I'm thinking about is the Apple side of the equation, where there's been always these rumors that Apple was going to move Mac OS to ARM. Yeah. And you'd have the similar issue where, you'd be leaving all these apps in the past. And Apple's did this once before. They went from PowerPC, which was big endian, to little endian x86. And they were able to make this transition with technology.
Did they offer, could you run PowerPC apps on the Mac?
They had a technology called Rosetta. Yeah, and then later, and what they did, actually, they did it very nicely, and I'm sure Microsoft watched with interest, because if they wanted to make this kind of transition, or I guess they won't make this kind of transition to the desktop, but if they wanted to get more stuff on ARM,
well, I mean, maybe. I actually
might be.
I've spoken a lot recently about the need for that kind of a thing, not the platform shift, but the simplicity of Windows shift.
Right. And Intel's clearly worried about something like this happening.
Yeah.
So it must be a possibility. So the way Apple did it in stages and did it very well, they had Rosetta, then they phased that out. They had Carbon, which was a SDK that made it possible, or an API made it possible to do both. And they slowly moved us over to Cocoa, which is the full 64-bit x86. And phased out over time the other two technologies, and now we're all Cocoa, and it worked very well over
Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs.
It's all Cocoa. It worked over about 10 years, 15. It took a while, so it's totally doable. In other words, and actually, it wasn't the first time. They reminded me that Apple made the 68,000 shift to PowerPC. That wasn't such a big shift compared to PowerPC to x86.
Right, because those are both essentially the same.
Big endian, or little endian. I can't remember which is which.
That's interesting. And then, I mean, of course, we're going in the opposite direction. I mean, ARM chips to date have been optimized for mobile scenarios, right? Power management over performance. I mean, they've been getting better and better from a performance standpoint. I wonder. I mean, it's very interesting. I also wonder about how this might impact other mobile platforms too, because Microsoft can't be doing this work by itself. I suspect Qualcomm or some company that has something to do with ARM has to have a hand in this. And if so, what would prevent Android from having the same capability?
So the other part of the rumor is Qualcomm is involved, and that the chip that is required to make this happen is the thing that's been called MSM 8998, which NeoWen found out is the Snapdragon 835, which is coming next year.
At this, by the way, at exactly the same time as Redstone 3, right? The timing on that is very interesting.
It is. So it does sound like they're working with Qualcomm, NHP. My biggest question after I got this tip was, okay, so what does this mean about the future of the Universal Windows platform? If you're a developer, why would you bother writing a UWP app if you know that you could just take your x86 app and run it well in emulation on ARM?
Are you asking that rhetorically, or are you really wondering?
I'm asking it rhetorically, but if you have an answer, I
do have an answer, because this technology is only a stepping stone. It's a way that we get through this transition, right? I think the future of personal computing is, in fact, an ARM-style processor. It's these mobile systems, but we all still, a lot of us still rely on these legacy desktop applications, legacy desktop form factors. There's various ways we make that transition. The transition period is, it can be ugly. It's sort of like the dongle thing we see on the hardware side, right? It's this period of time between traditional USB expansion and USB-C and Thunderbolt or whatever.
Right.
But I think on the software side, Windows has Centennial Technologies, which is one way to package those apps. It doesn't help you cross architectures, but it's a way to divide or span the divide between the past and the future. And then I still think the value prop on UWP is the same as ever, right? It's the reliability, the manageability, the performance, the security. I mean, all the things that have always been true for this platform ever since Microsoft, first announced its predecessor in Windows 8. Those things are all still true. They were always a good idea. The problem is that UWP apps, for the most part, don't meet the functionality that we see in desktop apps. And in some cases, there are no UWP solutions for those desktop apps, which is why I think this kind of technology is important. But like Leo just said about the Mac, I think it's temporary, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't take 10 years if it works and if they do it. But it's designed to help us all make the transition. And then at the end of it, we are on a modern Windows platform, and it's UWP.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have one thought that maybe, like you guys are both saying, this is a stopgap thing, right? Because if you remember, who did Microsoft say they were going to target with Windows Mobile going forward? They said business customers who have very specific line of business apps, not just like, Photoshop. They meant like apps that they built internally that they probably will never turn into a Centennial app, right? So I'm guessing this emulation technology might somehow be limited to just those kind of apps in some way, and that it's meant to just get the business customers who have that as a hurdle to be able to overcome that hurdle.
Yep. In fact, there's a bit in here later about Satya Nadella and some comments he made about various things. But as part of an interview, he talked about what he sees as kind of the future for mobile at Microsoft. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the pertinent bit here is that the message actually hasn't changed. He really didn't say anything new. And if you go back to, I think it was March of this year, which was the second kind of major scale back for mobile, the first one being July of the previous year, he said exactly what Mary Jo just said. It's about enterprises that value the manageability, the security, and I don't remember the rest of probably performance, whatever, but of those systems. And it is a very targeted audience. It's Microsoft's core audience in many ways. It's the audience that HP is targeting with the Elite X3.
Yep. And, a couple of people have reminded me of this when we're talking about HP. Eric Hogarth just said this on Twitter. I don't know if you guys remember this, but remember, I don't know how you pronounce it, FX32. There was like a bang symbol in between FX and 32. And it was the way that HP allowed NT to work on alpha chips.
Oh, jeez, yes. Right. And
so,
not the chip that was in a Nintendo 64, which is what I thought of when you said that. Okay.
So in other words, HP also has some history in doing this too, and just like Apple, so it's not as crazy as you think when you say, why is HP part of this? And the reason, by the way, that we knew any of this, we have to give credit to the Walking Cat, who we always credit on the show, because he found, and when he was looking into some code that Microsoft had published, he found a reference to something called CHPE. And his guess was compound hybrid PE. But then I started asking around, and somebody said,
quite a guess.
I know. He's amazing. But the C is for Cobalt. And Cobalt is the code name for this x86 emulation on ARM. And I think the HP in the middle of this acronym is Hewlett-Packard.
Yeah. Interesting.
Huh.
So we're piecing it together. And of course, when I asked Microsoft for comment, they said, we have nothing to share. And HP said, we have absolutely no comment on this. So there you go.
I look back at remember when Microsoft first announced Windows on ARM, which was Windows 8, right? And the first demo, I feel like I was in the room at the time, but that might be just me transposing myself or whatever. But they remember it was, we printed this thing from Word on ARM. It was like, wow, that's crazy. But remember, they did port. Well, I mean, we have Universal Windows Platform apps today on ARM, but they ported full Office to ARM, right? They had it on the Surface RT. That was Office 2013. There were a couple of x86 specific features they had to lop off. You could go back and look it up. It got a couple of mostly esoteric features. They didn't have Outlook in there originally, but they added it about a year later. Probably, I think because of performance issues or some kind of an issue with an Outlook. Shocker, Outlook. But they did it, right? And the point being that one of the more complex set of apps ever created for Windows does today still, if you have an RT device, runs on ARM. So this stuff, it's. I mean, granted, it was recompiled from it. I'm sure those were that wasn't really emulated, but they were able to make that transition. And so, yeah, it's very interesting. And if you're holding out for a Surface phone, which I know some people are, we're always looking for that one miracle weapon that's going to win the war. Again, like I said, it's
a very Call of Duty attitude towards it.
It is.
Yeah, but it's only 50% of the equation. But I don't think that this should be and will be, if they do it, be relegated to phones. I think this is going to have ramifications beyond the phone.
Yeah, definitely small tablets, right? For sure.
Yeah, and then eventually, I think what we think of as computers.
Yeah,
that's a ways out, obviously.
Here's an interesting idea. Thinis Swart, who's listening, said, "What if this only works for .NET apps on ARM?"
.NET apps on ARM.
And you know what? That makes a ton of sense in a lot of ways, because that would limit it to a set of apps that are mostly custom line of business apps, not exclusively. But also, there was I forget who found this week, but somebody showed me a link on GitHub where Microsoft's already ported a lot of .NET Core to ARM.
Right.
So that's kind of interesting, right? Maybe that's, instead of saying any...
That would make a lot of sense, yeah.
It would, right.
Yeah.
So, we've kind of discovered this, right? Not we, I mean,
right.
Mary Jo did. And it's early, right? Microsoft obviously wasn't ready to talk about this. So is it reasonable to think that Build 2017 is the, kind of time frame for this, or is this more of a developer feature? That is the developer show. So would that be the logical early peak? No, too soon?
Maybe if they show Redstone 3 at Build, maybe, because we think Redstone 2, which is the creator's update, will be out in March, and we think Build will be after that, right? So maybe
even
they'll
as late
start.
As May, right? I think next year it's a little later.
Right, that's the rumor.
So. Yeah. Okay, so we have some time, but I'm really, and again, this could all fall apart for all we know.
It could.
Who knows what happens here? But it's very, very interesting.
Highly speculative.
Yeah, we're totally speculating here, based on tips. So don't take what we're saying as the plan or anything set in stone.
Right.
Do you think Microsoft is looking at what's happening over on the Mac side and kind of gleefully going, fine, guys, you want to give up Macintosh, Mac OS, desktop? We'll take over from here. And how does that figure into this?
Yes and no. The problem for Microsoft is that the same slow collapse that's happening on the Mac is happening to the PC.
Yeah.
But unlike Apple, Microsoft doesn't have a mobile platform to fall back on, right? I mean, we're closing in on something like 1.2 billion iOS devices sold over this 10-year period. Microsoft only has numbers like that when you look at PCs, right? Which are, sales are declining. They're never going to achieve their previous levels. It's always going to be the second or third biggest platform in this space. And so, it's a different situation. It makes sense that Microsoft would put its investments into this space, right, and provide customers with a way to move forward. And we'll see. But again, the glaring hole here, and this is the big problem for Microsoft and for fans of the platform or users of the platform, is that the mobile part of it never took off. And
that's why they're in a different position than Apple. And this relates to that Horace Dediot post from Asimco we've been talking a lot about, where he said Apple, because they had the touch first platform of iOS, is going to keep the Mac non-touch, keep it alive until such time as they can transition everybody, including all desktop productivity, to iOS. And they see that as a future of computing.
I do too.
Microsoft didn't have that touch-first platform, so they had to do that ugly hybridization in Windows 8. They've come through the fire, I think, with Windows 10.
Well, it's not quite there yet, Leo. I mean, we've talked a lot about the reliability problems with this Windows as a service scheme. It's hard to keep a complex legacy desktop platform up to date this often and not have problems. And so they're still, I think, struggling with that. But I give Microsoft some credit. They've been able to integrate a mobile platform into that system And I think that's been pretty effective. In fact, I know I don't have it in the notes, so that's okay. But I wrote something about this over the past week where, the one little bright spot here, when you think about the reliability problems with this constant updating, the evergreen system Microsoft has, the mobile app part of it works just like mobile apps work on mobile platforms. So that works. There's still a case to be made that if you load up any system with too many apps, you're going to be updating all the time. But it seems like that happens reliably. The Mac has an app store, but it's not like a mobile. It's like a mobile-like app store. It's still, they have their own system for doing things. I don't really see Apple integrating mobile into the Mac. They take features from iOS and they re-implement them on the Mac in a way that is possibly familiar to users. But, Microsoft has kind of a unique hybrid system. It really is both in the same system.
Yeah. Plus, as we've brought up a few times, when we talk about Surface phone, it may not even be a phone when it comes out, if it comes out. It might be a tablet. It might be some kind of other mobile device. We don't know that it will be a phone as we think about phones now, right? Yeah.
It may literally be another kind of computing device that, oh, by the way, one of the 100 things it does is it can make phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting transition period we're going through. That's pretty clear.
It is.
And you got to think Microsoft's spending a lot of strategic time thinking about what the future is going to hold and where we go from here and how do we position ourselves.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but Microsoft just made a post about the window, like the Connect show from last week, I think.
It was.
I keep this in my head. I think it was last week.
Yep.
What that was like from a Windows perspective. They're still very much talking up the kind of Windows value proposition for developers thing. And you can go back and look at the previous couple of builds and all of the bridge technologies that they did, and they're opening up to open source, and they've undergone all these efforts. But I think a fundamental thing that needs to happen for them as well is what I think we're seeing here, which is bringing developers and their apps forward to the future in kind of a different way than we thought of it in the past. Because there's a lot of legacy code out there, and it's businesses especially are not just going to walk away from that. And so if you want these guys to move forward, you need to provide them with a way to do that. And I think that's what this addresses.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's always been Microsoft's hereditary problem is not leaving legacy behind.
Yeah, right.
Exactly right. Exactly.
And they always had to struggle with it, and perhaps haven't been able to do everything they'd wanted to do because of that.
Yeah, I used to, if we go back 5 years ago or so, there was a conversation you could have about how aggressive Apple was and how non-aggressive Microsoft was with dropping old technology. Right. And the argument at the time would have been, well, Microsoft has like 1.5 billion customers. They can't just do that. Well, surprise, Apple has like 1 billion customers. They're spread across different device types. Most of them are iOS devices. They're still moving really aggressively, folks. And so I think there's a middle ground that can be had. And actually, this is one of the topics I've got for later. But that's the problem with Windows is the greatest strength of Windows, which is essentially this legacy Win32 app platform. It's the only thing keeping it going. But it's also insecure. It's got performance problems. There's all kinds of issues with it. It's not modern, et cetera. And so, it's something that needs to be addressed.
Very interesting. May you live in interesting times.
Yeah.
Our show today, we're going to take a break, come back with more. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, as we talk about Windows. Very good news. My credit card got billed for over $3,000 today, so I'm happy about that. I should have mentioned by Microsoft. So that means that the Creative Studio is on its way. Have you heard some people are getting theirs?
Yeah, there have been reports of people getting shipment notifications.
The Surface Studio, not Creative Studio.
Yep.
Surface Studio featuring Windows Creative Edition. Someday. So people I've seen reviews, but review units have been out, but real normal people like me are getting, I'm not normal.
Yes, I think they're starting to.
Nice. Well, because it said when I ordered it December 15th, it'd be really lovely to get it a couple of weeks early.
Yeah.
It'd be an early birthday
I think
present.
the first people to get it will get it, we have a holiday here, so it could be screwed up a little bit, but possibly by the end of this week, and if not, next week.
I should check the Windows Store, actually, Microsoft Store, and see. They would update that, right? They update that shipping information.
I think so.
Oh, through your order status or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'll do that after the ad. How about that? Okay. Because we have more important things to do, like make some money so I can pay for this ridiculously expensive computer. Our show. Actually, I think I'm going to really. I'm not an artist, and it's not really designed for people like me, but non-artists. I mean, who does spreadsheets on a 28-inch screen at a 20-degree angle? But what I plan to do is do it in the other studio at the round table set, to have it right there. And I think it'll be kind of cool. I don't know. We shall see. We shall see. Our show today brought to you by an intranet you'd actually want to use. Whoever heard of that? It's called Igloo. Igloo software. They've created an amazing intranet that works so well. You can do all the things that your modern, we've talked about millennials, but your new employees, they're used to Facebook, they're used to Twitter, they're used to blogs, and they want it all to be easy. And so Igloo really goes to them where they are. It's a platform that helps you share files, collaborate on documents, update blogs, coordinate calendars. It's completely WYSIWYG with very elaborate permissions, of course, so you can say that you can do this, you can do that. You're in charge of the blog. It also offers, of course, a variety of access, authentication, and identity services. So, authorized users have access to what you want them to. And it can be in a private cloud. It can be over SSL, 256-bit encryption. And as you see, it's mobile responsive. So it works great on mobile devices, which, again, is something the new workforce really wants. They want to be able to use it on their phone wherever they are. And you want them to do that with secure authentication. You can customize Igloo to fit your needs, to work with your current IT investments. Of course, it works with Office 365 and Salesforce and SharePoint and Active Directory, file sharing solutions like Box and Google Drive, support systems like Zendesk. Time to modernize the intranet and make an intranet your employees and staff, and frankly, you will actually like to use. Find out more. You could try it free at igloosoftware.com/twit, IGLOO software.com/twit. You could sign up for a live demo to see it in action. And by the way, when you do that through that link, you could also, if you want, and I think this is a great way to do it, just get it for your small work group. It's free for up to 10 people forever. So, I don't know, if you got a bridge club, a Xbox One Call of Duty club, whatever, free for 10 people forever. igloosoftware.com/twit. And once you use it in your club, you could say, hey, I got to tell the boss about this. It's an intranet. It actually works. We're talking Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, as always, gathered together around the Thanksgiving table. And this Thanksgiving's tomorrow in the United States, and there's going to be some very hot conversations around the table. Mac, PC, Android, iOS, battling.
Yep, that's going to be the big fight.
People are going to actually say, oh, thank God we could talk about that.
Yep.
Let's fight over Windows versus Mac. That'd be so much more.
Remember those two guys? I'm a Mac, I'm a PC ad. I hated those guys.
Bring that back. Yep. So one of the things that you did at Wartel last week that I thought was really interesting is you had your start menu on your HoloLens. Mm-hmm. And I asked at the time, is that Windows holographic? You said yes. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get that with the Creative Edition or soon, right?
Or it's right, so that's going to be bundled into the creators update, right, which ships in the spring
March
next year. But so we're testing it now.
Obviously I'll need a HoloLens to use it, or no?
No, you could use. Well, actually, let's see. Sorry, let me step back. So, HoloLens doesn't technically run Windows 10, not the version that we're testing. It does run a
I don't know that. That's weird.
Well, it's Windows 10, but it's not, it's not like a mainstream version of Windows 10. So it's actually updated on a different schedule or on its own schedule. I think some of the times that Microsoft has released major updates, that update has in fact gone out on the same day, but that's not a guarantee. It's not like they have Home Pro HoloLens or whatever, but they're taking the holographic shell from that product, and they're putting it into the mainstream versions of Windows. And so that's something we can all get with this next version of Windows. But yes, to see it holographically, to see it in a virtual environment, you'll need
for those who weren't watching,
headset.
Yeah, it was really cool. Mary Jo's got her HoloLens on, and floating in front of her, superimposed on the actual view of the conference room, is a menu. And Mary Jo, you do those gestures with your hand.
Bloom.
What's the matter, you?
What's the matter, you gesture? And then to tap a menu item, do you point, you tap it with your finger?
Yeah, you kind of like do this thing with your finger, or you can do this and it taps the
like
item.
The red rum thing. Red rum.
Yeah.
Red rum.
Acknowledging that, of course, there's some learning curve, and you got to get used to that. What was it kind of intuitive once you kind of played with it a little bit?
Yeah, it was. It was.
You know, we asked the guy about the controller, because I do think there's a bit of not unreliability. It's a little vague, right? It's a little hard sometimes to get right on the thing. And so, you know, if you've done anything with like Kinect, you know, sometimes you have to hold your hand in a certain position and a circle kind of goes.
Yep.
So I think that one of the big learnings we've had with VR systems and all now with HoloLens is that having some kind of hardware thing to click or whatever really helps. And so they do offer that for HoloLens. We didn't use it.
I know. I'm like, can I use the clicker? And the guy's like, no, I don't want you to use the clicker. I'm like, oh.
He wanted you to have the real experience, huh?
Yeah.
I think for him, it's probably, you know, you put the HoloLens in kind of a zippered bag kind of thing, and you can carry it around. And I think the clickers are just extra, and it's, you know. It's
like people who want to use a mouse, like me,
right?
With a touch laptop.
Rather than touch. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just more precise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I got tracking numbers.
Oh.
It says order.
I think your system's coming.
Order complete.
Nice.
And, well, if I know if FedEx or UPS is working to form, you'll paste that in and it won't know what the number is.
It says UPS could not locate the shipment details for your request. That means they've printed the label, but they actually haven't given it to the truck.
Yeah, right.
So it's still at the factory.
I don't approve of this system.
I know. I know, because sometimes it stays, right?
Yeah, I don't like that.
It's two separate boxes.
Two separate boxes. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why would that be?
The dial's in another one.
Yeah, because the dial is not technically part of it.
Right.
Right. So you're getting a dial with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would guess that's probably
it.
Yep. It's showing.
The other one's going to be the size of a refrigerator.
I know. Where are you going to put this giant thing?
Well, good question. I don't think I don't know. I mean, it's not going to be, obviously. If I had it here, you wouldn't see me.
Right.
I mean, like,
you could kind of put it down in front of
you.
Well,
and so
put it down
that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to do it on the round table set where we have, people kind of arrayed behind me, and then the camera's in front of me. But if I have it at the 20-degree angle, I might look like kind of some weird DJ or something.
DJ, yeah.
But
that's all right.
But I think potentially it could be great, and I could telestrate. As we're showing website or whatever, I can actually do the John Madden boom and the dong and
you might need to create a UWP app, Leo.
You might.
A telestrator app or what?
Sure.
A TWiT UWP app.
Yeah.
Well, Dimitri Violin was going to do that
for you to control the whatever you're doing.
No, doesn't it? Can't with Edge? I can draw right on the thing, right?
Oh yeah, you can use.
Oh, you're talking about the John Madden thing where you write over.
Yeah,
the
telestrate
screen,
the screen I'm showing.
Yeah, you should be able to do that. Yep.
I think it might be fun. The only thing I realize is I'm going to still need a keyboard. So when you put it in the 20-degree mode, the way they always show it, somebody's already bellied right up to it, which is kind of a more natural way to work as an artist. But I'm going to need to slide it, 6 inches in to have the keyboard there.
That should still work.
It should work, right? And I still, I don't know. It's one of those things. I kind of had to buy it so we could review it, and I'm hopeful that I'll actually have a use, a real legit use for it. I'm not an artist, see? If I were an artist, man, I'd take it home and I'd be doing my cartoon or comics or, whatever. But I wish I were an artist. Maybe, I don't know, maybe, what do you think, Paul? Could I learn? Can you learn to be an artist at this late stage?
No, it's over for you, Leo. I'm sorry.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I think if you watch
just like Call of Duty, it's not going to happen.
I'll do the Bob Ross thing. And then,
Bob Ross.
Speaking of which, right, we saw Bob Ross on a TV screen in the Google headquarters in the Netherlands. And it was it was one of many weird out-of-body experiences.
That is weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really strange. And I think the guys, I said to our host, I said, well, you must have no idea who that is. And he said, no, it's Bob Ross. He's very, what do you say? He's very calming.
Yes.
Like,
puffy little clouds, puffy little clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Isn't that what happens when you retire? You know, the boxer or the TV anchor, whatever they retire, they end up taking up painting, and then they have gallery exhibits of this really pretty crappy kind of. You can't really call it Grandma Moses primitive. It's just bad painting.
Yeah.
George W. Bush did this.
W's got all these paintings.
Yeah.
Him in the bathtub and stuff. That's my future.
Oh, well. Sorry.
Oh, I can't. I'm actually really excited. It still says release date 12/15 on it, but it says status on the order is complete.
No, that's going to change. I bet you get it in the next week.
Oh, I'd love to have it by the next show. And if I do, I'll have it set up here.
Yeah, I bet you will. I bet you will.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. They say at the Googleplex in Amsterdam, when the interns get upset, they sit them down to watch Bob Ross.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the other guy.
Although I don't think anyone in that town gets too upset.
No.
Really? They're very gentle, nice.
People. Nicest people.
Oh, God, I loved Amsterdam.
They figured something out there.
Actually, I do know they get upset because we had we hired a private guide with a car because we only had a day there and I wanted to see as much as possible. And we went into the Rijksmuseum with a guide who was wonderful, by the way. He was an artist, so he really had a lot to say about Rembrandt and stuff. And then we get back out and the driver in the car says, "Oh, you should have been here a minute ago. A guy hit me with his bicycle."
Oh, man.
And in Amsterdam, bicycles have the right of way. They don't, you know.
We had this discussion there. It's funny how passive aggressive this is. The bike guys have the right of way over everybody, including babies and children, whatever. And they have their own lanes, and they have their own lights even in big intersections. But it's funny because we're used to the United States. If someone wants you to get out of the way, this big honking horn will occur. But when you're in the Netherlands, what you hear is like tring 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 tring. It's like this cute little bike thing.
Because a bike's coming 80 miles an hour.
Blow right. They'll nail you. Like you have to get out of the way.
So the driver said that this guy ran a red light, hit the car, nice Mercedes limo, scratched the car. Driver gets out screaming at him, and they have this loud fighting match. And then the bicyclist gets off and rides off. And the driver said, "Actually, I'm very relieved he did because had the police arrived, I wouldn't be here. I'd be in jail right now."
Exactly. Yeah, you got to get out of the way. It's hard for us as Americans because we just walked on what we perceive to be the sidewalk.
No.
And it's very subtle, but oftentimes. But they have their own lane or lanes. I mean,
you don't get in that lane.
Little bike routes that are like little bike highways, I
like that, but I've learned whenever I'm traveling, if you do not stand in a bike lane there, you're not supposed to be there, and they will hit you.
Don't walk in a bike lane. Don't
And it's not just Amsterdam; it's all over. I wish we had that.
All these lanes you got to walk through, with vehicles of different types. You really got to pay attention.
Do I look left? Do I look right? What is it?
Yeah,
listening for.
I know.
No, but we should have that. That's great, and that means it takes cars off the road.
The Netherlands is flat.
Yeah, that's true.
So one of the benefits of that is they can have these incredible bike systems. In a place where I can see a hill from my window. I wouldn't want to ride.
No, that's right. Well, that's when you get the electric assist. I wish I would like to go back when it freezes because I guess the river freezes and people ice skate. Like Hans Brinker and the Golden.
Yeah. So Stephen Bank, who's one of our friends there, and he grew up there, was telling me when he was a kid he used to do that all the time. And these days, the canals only freeze over enough, maybe once every 10 years. Yeah. For that to happen. So.
In St. Petersburg, the river, the Nevsky freezes, and they do ice. Actually, Catherine the Great built a giant ice palace on the river, and made two of her servants get married and spend their wedding night on an ice bed in the ice palace, shivering.
If you want to do that kind of thing, go up to Quebec City. There's a nice hotel.
Yeah, right.
So let's do that.
But apparently, they all it's some reason I can't remember what it is. At 1:30 in the morning, all the bridges raise on the river, and so you can't cross them. So people go out and they have parties on the ice.
Amen.
Or something.
You got to improvise, Leo, when you get 2 hours of sunlight a day. And,
nothing going on.
The whole world is made of ice.
Nothing going on. Yeah.
Yep.
Windows 10 build 14971 is out. I'm not an insider anymore. I have to trust you.
Yeah, I was away when this happened, so I actually don't know that much about it. But it has, I guess it's the first one with that Paint 3D app, I think. Is that correct?
It's out.
Yeah, it is.
We could try it. Yeah. Should I be an insider on my Surface Studio?
Boy. I don't know.
Hard to give you that recommendation.
I want to give it a couple months.
Really? This is the last one before Thanksgiving, you say, which is good because they'd have to really rush to get another one before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Well,
but the holiday for Microsoft goes on how long? Will they be out next week too, or?
No, they'll be back next week.
No, they'll be back next week.
Okay.
But the point being, there won't be any after Thanksgiving until next
quiet weekend.
Right. Yep. Yeah, there's two other things in that build worth talking about. PowerShell becomes a de facto command shell, replacing command prompt.
I thought that was really interesting.
You can switch it back. Okay. You can switch it.
But you know what? Actually, I don't think that's new to this build. I know they said it was. Because I think I just saw it on my computer. So do you have a way to where do you make this change? Do you have
type Windows R command.
No, I know where you see it, but in other words,
there's PowerShell.
In Microsoft's blog post from last week, it tells you how to undo it.
Yeah.
So
you can go back to the sudo DOS command.
Right. So do you have that in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me.
You don't?
Sorry.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's in there today.
Okay. If you want to undo it, let's see. You can opt out of the Win plus X change by opening settings, then personalization, then taskbar.
Oh,
taskbar. That's the first place I'd look for it.
Right. Then replace command
taskbar.
Prompt with
okay.
Windows
So, okay. Here, I'm sorry. So this option actually is in Windows 10 today. I think the difference is that it's enabled in this build.
Right. It's the default now.
You can, if you want to replace command prompt with Windows PowerShell, do so in the existing version of Windows 10.
So, are all the DOS commands still there, like dir and
in PowerShell?
Yeah. I mean, in other words, will people notice
it's LS, obviously.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is it? Let me launch PowerShell.
Dir works. Yes, dir works.
Dir works.
By the way, LS works.
But so does LS, right?
That's interesting. Yep. And what else? Like CD.
Well, to make a directory, do you do MD
MKDIR
or MKDIR?
T. MKDIR works.
And so does MD. So they've kind of in this weird hybrid space.
Yep. Yeah. It's almost like the guy that designed this really knew what he was doing.
Jeffrey Snover.
Yep.
And RM works to remove as well as
now I've created a bunch of stupid directories in my file system. Thanks, Leo.
So you can still DL. So I guess the question is, would my batch files continue to work?
Right. So could you from PowerShell execute Windows applications? I would imagine. Yeah. I don't use PowerShell, but I would think so.
Well, you're gonna be. So get ready. You might as well.
Yep. It looks like it.
And I think that this is a modern shell. I think it's time.
Yeah, I think that's their point.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought this was really interesting. This is kind of an Apple-y thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, they kept this is basically was DOS in the early versions of Windows, and now it's emulating DOS in effect. It's like a fake DOS.
Yeah.
Here's what I don't understand. Why can't you just have both? Why do you?
Well, you kind of do. If dir works and ls works, then you do.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Right.
I'm thrilled about this. I bought PowerShell books and stuff because I really think it's having a shell. This was the reason for me personally that I liked Mac OS is I had a bash command line that was real. It wasn't a phony one. And now I think Windows is at parity. If I can do telnet and all that stuff, which of course I can, and I presume I can do SSH. Yes, it has SSH. Oh no, it's not. But I presume I can install that. Wow, but the error messages in PowerShell are More
powerful.
More communicative. The term SSH is not recognized as the name of a commandlet, function, script file, or operable program. Check the spelling of the name, or if a path was included to verify that the path is correct.
Have a nice day.
Again,
love Jeff.
At line 1, char 1, SSH category info object not found, SSH string, command not found exception. This is really interesting. Fully qualified error ID, command not found exception. Wow. And it's in red. Interesting.
And there's one more thing.
Yes.
Get Office. That used to just be an app that, prompted you to get Office 365. Now is more robust, and it lets you actually manage Office 365 if you have it installed with Windows 10.
Yep.
So it's going to let you discover and launch your apps and see all the documents that you have in one place. So they're really changing that from kind of like nagware almost to something that's useful if you have Office 365 and Windows 10. That's new in the build also. So there's a few things. There are a few new things in that build.
That PowerShell is going to throw some people.
Oh yeah, it's been very controversial.
Leo.
It's the future.
Pete Cook on Twitter says, go into PowerShell.
Hi, Pete Cook.
In the word, yep. This is a good tip.
Yeah.
Type in the word alias, and you will see a list of the commands and their equivalents, or aliases rather, right? So
how Unixy of them.
Yeah.
So they've aliased. Let me see what they've. So how did it work? Did they alias dir to ls or ls to dir? That's the question.
It's funny. Ls, it says get child item. So get child item is like the PowerShell commandlet, I would imagine is what they call it.
Yeah, commandlet. Commandlets are really interesting. Oh, I typed PowerShell and it's still open PowerShell.
Sure.
Can I do less pipe? Let's try that. Let's see if I can pipe to less.
Yeah. So these must be the commandlets that
pipe less. No,
well,
doesn't
know
know
alias.
less. Does it know more?
Yes,
less
it does know
more. It does know more. It has more. So you can. This is very Unixy. You can type alias bar, which is the pipe command, more, and it'll paginate the output, which is what I wanted it to do. And ls maps to get children, get child item.
So is piping in PowerShell works like it does in Unix. It doesn't use like the greater than.
Yeah, this is nice. Nice. Sweet.
Right. That's interesting.
So what they're doing is aliasing short commands like rm and rmdir to the commandlet, which is remove -item. RD remove item. Yeah, so they've, okay. And can I edit commandlets? I mean, are they just scripts?
Yeah, but I don't know if you can edit the built-in ones. I don't, like I said, I don't know a lot about it, but I bet you can if you type in.
Huh. Can I use Edlin?
I was just like, no,
no Edlin.
no Edlin. But
this is nice. I like this. This is fantastic.
Yeah. So thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is a brave new world of power commands.
Yep.
But I think as the PC becomes, instead of becoming the consumer device, as it becomes the truck, that's what should happen.
Right. Get rid of the riffraff.
Yeah. Not smart enough to use PowerShell? Go use a tablet.
Yep. Baseline is you got to use PowerShell.
Yeah. Wow.
Huh. Mary Jo, you could almost imagine a PowerShell-based text editor. Like Emacs for PowerShell.
Crazy now. Come on.
I mean, as weird as this sounds, back in the days when you had like editors like the Turbo Pascal editor or Masm or whatever, there was something really neat about a text mode text editor.
You bet.
You know?
You bet.
It really, we really have
a lot to say for it.
Yeah.
I know people still use Brief.
Jeez.
Wow. Did are the ad? Now I remember you were very upset about this, Paul. The ads, are they? They're still part of the.
Still a problem.
Is that still a problem?
Yeah. I mean, back when Windows 8 launched, I wrote an article called "Microsoft Cheapens Windows 8 with Ads," and because I haven't had an original idea in 4 years, I've written another article called
"That's me."
Microsoft Cheapens Windows 10 with Ads, and if you go back and actually, I guess it was 3 years ago. No, it was 4 years ago. So if you go back in time and look at what I wrote at the time. they had started adding ads to the inbox apps, like the Metro, Windows Store apps, whatever, news and weather and apps like that. And of course, some people would say, well, that's not Windows. Like, I mean, I know that ships with Windows, but it's not in Windows. And my whole argument at the time is this is a slippery slope. I mean, when does it end?
Right.
So flash forward a few years, and we have Windows 10. We have ads right in the shell. This is exactly what I was talking about. You change from Edge to Chrome like any normal human being would do, and it starts bothering you to switch back. It bothers you in the taskbar. It bothers you in the start menu. It bothers you in settings. Bothers you in the action center. It bothers you on the lock screen. It's like green eggs and ham, except it's advertising all over Windows 10. In the next version of Windows 10, they're experimenting with putting those ads in File Explorer, which is arguably kind of the core of the traditional Windows user experience. There are going to be people who argue that these things are not ads, that they're tips, that you can turn them off, which you can now. But again, it's a slippery slope. I mean, once you've inserted this,
I have to say,
yeah, and it does cheapen, I think, the product. And it's not. I don't know. You pay for Windows in so many ways. I mean, literally, but also in other figurative ways. This kind of thing to me is part of a bunch of little things. None of them by themselves are huge problems, but I think they weigh on us as Windows users, and I think it's a mistake for Microsoft just to cheapen the experience the way they have.
I understand why they feel. They must not feel that it's advertised. They must feel that this is helpful. Right?
I think they just want to monetize Windows however they can, and I'm okay with it as long as you can shut it off. In fact,
and you can shut it off, right?
You can shut it off.
All right.
Right, and if you could not.
By the way, not with one switch. The switches for turning the stuff are all over the place.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I guess I'm not as bothered by this as you are, as long as you can shut it off.
Yeah.
It's important for me to be in a kind of a regulated state of rage at all times. And so
it keeps his heart pumping. Otherwise, it's flatline.
It's how I know I'm alive.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, I don't know. I guess, I hate nagware, but as long as I can find a way to shut the stuff off, I'm like, okay, as long as I can get rid of it, it's good.
Well, I'll tell you what isn't there when the little thing pops up in the taskbar. Click here to never see this again. Yeah. You have to really know what you're doing to find the off switch, and that's a problem as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's for some, it's a really hot button, and it's kind of right up there with Get Windows 10 and that mess. Yeah. And I'll be honest, it pushes me away as a user. I guess look, hey, I'm the king of monetization. You gotta make a living.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, but Leo,
I give my stuff away.
Exactly. Windows doesn't come for free. I mean, I know there was a free upgrade offer for a year there, but Windows is not free. You pay for it as part of a new PC purchase. You pay for it if you're one of the few people that buys it at retail. You pay for Windows. Yeah. And I know there are examples of things like newspapers where you pay for it and there are still ads, and I know all that stuff. But I think there's a tradition in this space. You don't see ads in the Mac. You don't see them in Linux, of course. You don't see them in mobile systems, although Amazon is.
There are Linux distros where you see ads. If you install Ubuntu, you get an Amazon icon on your toolbar, which is why I stopped using Ubuntu, frankly.
Interesting.
And for a while, they were putting all the searches were going through Amazon, which was clearly a monetization strategy. So, but you're right. When they do that, the community is up in arms. And the thing about Linux is you have a choice, and you don't have to go there.
Right. I just think it should be classier than that.
iOS has ads, by the way. The App Store has paid ads in it.
The App Store, yeah, okay, sure. There are so many points in Windows where you can see little things that I would call ads, and I guess what I'd say is if you're going into an App Store, you're trying to make decisions about apps and finding apps and maybe even buying apps, and I'm not saying that ads are okay, but it seems like in a store, an ad, it would be a more natural thing to see.
Yeah.
Than say in File Explorer.
Right.
where I'm trying to copy a file. Not find out about the great new app that Microsoft wants to sell me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to say, more and more, just on the web in general and in Windows and in Office and everywhere, I don't even see the ads. Like, I just am so blind to ads now. Like if you said to me, did you just see the ad in Skype for blah? I don't even notice it.
Well, that's kind of a problem, right? Because
let me ask you this, though. If there was a banner ad in the top of Notepad, would you open that? Would you see that?
Oh, that would be. You would hate that, right?
That would be.
You know what? I would just be like, okay, there's a banner ad, and after I used it like 4 or 5 times, I would never notice it anymore. I feel like
that's incidentally why banner ads don't work.
I know,
because we have gotten very good. I don't. They get immune, and I go to a site that has columns of banner ads all around it, and I don't see them. I read the content and move on. And it's why ads have gotten more and more intrusive as a result. With the jiggle. It started with Punch the Monkey, but now ads take over. If you're on mobile, you can't read an article until you read an ad. And
if there were pop-ups like all over Notepad, then we would have some words.
Well, but that's the slippery slope your Microsoft's launching itself on, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It
looks like you're trying to write a text document, Mary Jo. Maybe you'd like to use this paid app from the Windows Store.
I would hope not. I would hope not.
So far, my rage is controlled on this one.
Yeah, because you unlike Paul and me, you don't feed off the rage.
Exactly. Right. Yep, it keeps me going.
Yeah. Moving on. Did we cover all three of? Oh, wait a minute. Microsoft's most ultimate mobile device. What's that?
Yeah, so this is actually kind of interesting. In fact, Mary Jo, let me ask you something. Paul Smith, the guy from the Australian publication that wrote this, if you look at his picture, I think we've met this guy. I think we know him. Or I think we've seen him at industry shows or whatever. But he had a pretty long interview with Satya Nadella, and I got a couple of things out of it. One was a thing we've got later where he talks about Apple CEO Tim Cook and the iPad Pro. But he made this he was asked specifically about Surface Phone, and I found this discussion to be very interesting. Mm-hmm. If you parse, you recognize him? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, but I'm recalling the Surface Phone comments.
So sorry. I feel like I've met this guy, or at least I've seen him. He was asked very specifically about this, and he kind of defended Microsoft's mobile strategy. We made mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. I make the argument in an article today that he really isn't saying that much new. I mean, he's basically saying what he's been saying for a long time. Enterprises value security, manageability, and continuum. But he made an interesting comment. He said, "We will continue to be in the phone market, not as defined by today's market leaders, but by what is it that we can uniquely do in what is the most ultimate mobile device, the most ultimate mobile device." And then he referred to the Nokia assets where they stopped doing things that were Me Too and started doing things, even if they are today very subscale, to be very focused on a specific set of customers who need a specific set of capabilities that are differentiated and that we can do a good job of. Mm-hmm. I think he was just referring to Continuum,
also the Windows Phone. You know how New York Police Department's using Windows Phone now, and they're using it for a very specific custom app. I think he's talking about that. So
what are they doing with that?
I forget what the app is, but they developed expressly for the New York Police Department.
Does every officer have a Windows Phone in his pocket?
A lot of them do. I don't know if every single one does, but yeah, that's where they see their ability to carve out a tiny piece of the market for themselves is that, right? We do a device that we customize completely for the customer, and that's where we can sell.
Right. So a lot of people looked at this and they said, "Oh my God, they're staying in the phone market. Surface Phone is coming." But I think it's fair to say that, Continuum is this ongoing concern. We've talked about the ARM and x86 stuff and the possibilities for the future. I mean, anything could happen. I don't think he really gave anything away. I don't think he really hinted at Surface Phone, but I think a lot of people are, grasping for that miracle weapon that I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
So
I agree. I think he's.
I like that someone asked him.
Yeah. I think he's repeating that message in different words, maybe,
so, too.
but same message.
It's very consistent. I went back to March and I looked at what he said, and if you kind of put them side by side, it's basically the same sentence.
Yeah.
So
it is. Yeah.
Credit for that. He did talk about AI. He remember at Ignite, AI was a really big story, and he kind of pushed AI into the mobile space. That this is going to be part of our value prop going forward. And today AI on mobile for them is Cortana, but they've got this big backend thing. They've got the bots and all that, and so maybe this turns into something else as well. But I think that's less fully realized than, say, Continuum, which you can kind of look at and see and understand what it is.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Let's do one more, and then we'll take a break. The LinkedIn battle rages in the EU. Microsoft got quick approval for its acquisition of LinkedIn in the US, but the EU says, hold on a minute, thanks probably to Mark Benioff of Salesforce saying, you ought to say, hold on a minute.
Actually, I get a theory about that, but we'll get to that in a minute. I don't actually think they had any impact on the EU, but
what Benioff's concern would be quite reasonably, and I'm sure Salesforce says, now if we had bought LinkedIn, we would have made sure to make all that data open to anybody who wanted to use it.
By the way, I think that's the hallmark of Salesforce.com. When we think of that company,
we'd be the good
word
guy.
open data access, the phrase open data access is the first thing that comes to mind.
But we just want to make sure Microsoft will be equally
and the other thing I'd throw out there, by the way, is the CRM monopoly that would have occurred had they purchased LinkedIn.
Yeah, really, thank God they didn't, because then it would have really been bad.
Yeah.
But Microsoft's saying to the EU, or at least according to the article I read, that, okay, we're going to do some stuff with Outlook and so forth that allow third-party data connectors.
But what is that stuff? Can you understand this, Mary Jo? Because I'm...
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. Sorry.
So the stuff that I think Reuters was the first one to hear about is stuff that has nothing to do with Salesforce, right?
Exactly.
First, Microsoft promises they will give other professional social networks access to the Microsoft API, which I assume means the Office Graph API, which is what lets you do all the things that connect Outlook to other services like Box and Uber and such. So, okay, that's good. You're going to let them continue to access the API that's already open to developers to access. And the other was to let OEMs decide whether or not to install LinkedIn on the hardware as kind of like a default or some other rival professional social network. So there's nothing in these two concessions that seem to appeal to what Benioff wants, which is Microsoft guaranteeing that other companies will have access to the LinkedIn graph and the LinkedIn data.
Right. Right.
So
that's exactly my point.
Right.
So what he wants is open access to the data.
Right.
Which is, in many ways, the crown jewels of the acquisition. Why would give this out to anybody? So here's my theory about why Microsoft made this concession, which has nothing to do with what Salesforce was asking. They're making a concession to the EU. And when you look at antitrust in the EU, all they care about is competition.
Right.
Right? They're against product bundling and all this kind of stuff. And so what Microsoft is saying is, look, the way that people are going to access this data is through Outlook. And so we're going to allow all social networks, including these goofy little social networks no one's ever heard of, from Finland and the Ukraine and places in Europe, or places in the EU, I should say. Actually, are either of those places even in the EU? It doesn't matter. But in the EU, let me run with this one, because that's the type of thing that the EU is concerned with, right?
Right.
Access to data is a horrifying thing to the EU. The notion that Microsoft would just make this available to anyone is the last thing that the EU would want, right?
Well, right now, the way it works is LinkedIn does allow access to their data, I believe, to some people, but I think it's a paid allowance of access,
is that what it is?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, so there's very few companies that have the access. I think Salesforce is one of them, and Microsoft is currently one of them, but I bet they don't just give them the data. I'm sure they allow them to license it or sell the access somehow, right? So I would have thought that was what Benioff would be more interested in was guaranteeing that they would continue to have that kind of access, even if they had to pay for it, but have access to the data. But instead, like you said, it's a rival thing. Instead, it's about competition in professional social networks, and not so much about accessing LinkedIn data.
See, I misread it. I thought maybe what they were going to do is give Salesforce the ability to write a connector for Outlook that would.
I think you already can.
Oh, you already can. Anyone
so
can
that's
do
not okay. I mean,
what they're offering is something that's available to everybody right now. I don't even understand. You know, Outlook has a common extensibility framework that works now across multiple products. It works on mobile, it works on desktop, it works on the web. And some social networks are already doing this. They're obviously doing it for LinkedIn. This has nothing to do with what Salesforce is complaining about. It's really funny.
Odd concessions. Although I guess it goes, like you just said, Paul, it addresses what the EU cares about, which is competition in the same space that LinkedIn is in, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Interesting, if puzzling.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But it does lend credence to the notion that that Salesforce didn't complain, that this is something else. I mean, if that satisfies the EU, that's clearly not in response.
Well, by the way, that's the story today. Now that these events have kind of happened, I don't remember who it was, Reuters or maybe Bloomberg said, according to their sources, the EU is now going to okay this deal.
Well, they have till I think the rumored date is December 6th. As to when they will or won't say they need. Sorry about the barking dog. When they will or won't.
Did you get a dog?
When they will or won't need to decide if they're just going to approve the deal or if they're going to instead say we need more information. So.
Yep.
Okay. Let's take a break and then we'll find out why Satya Nadella hates Tim Cook so very, very much. Yeah. Our show today brought to you by the one tool I can't live without because I'm a key loser. I'm a key loser. I lose my keys every time. And if you're a key loser like me, or a remote control loser, or a luggage loser, or a FIDO loser, you got to know about the tracker. Tracker is the Bluetooth tracker that helps you keep track of your stuff with your smartphone. Newsweek reports the average American I love this stat, wastes 55 minutes a day looking for something they own but can't find. That sounds about right. Tracker makes losing things a thing of the past, and I'm going to tell you how to get one for free here. But let me first tell you and show you the Tracker Bravo. This is the newest tracker. They've been around. I've been aware of them since they did a Kickstarter thing, and this has gotten better and better and better. One of the things I've always liked best about the tracker is that unlike the other Bluetooth truth tracker that you probably know of, when the battery wears out on it, you have to throw it out, which is kind of the most blatant kind of forced obsolescence I've ever heard of. You throw it out, not with the tracker. The tracker, you pop open the side and you put in a new battery. And these are the little coin batteries you see in the drugstore. I can't remember. It's 3R, CR 2025 or something. But it's really easy to replace. Now, because this is so lightweight and thin, it goes up to a year, Bluetooth LE and all that. But there are settings you could turn on, like I turn on, that will drain the battery faster. And so, but I just replace the battery. It's easy to do every 6 months or so. I turn on two-way separation alerts. That's one thing that will use the battery a little bit more, but I like it a lot because I don't just lose my keys, I also lose my phone. So if I have this tracker on my keys, as I do, in fact, I could show you. I keep it. What I do is I keep them on my keys and then I chain it to my my bag so that it's kind of like doing double duty. I don't really need to do that because after all, I could just get another tracker for my bag. But so if I leave my bag or my keys behind, then my phone goes, hey, and you can program it. It could actually say, hey, buddy, you lost your keys. And I go, oh, within 100 feet, I'm beyond that point. It says you left your keys behind. And then it has a map on my phone of where I left them, where it last saw the keys. But it also goes the other direction. If I leave my phone behind and I walk out with my bag and my keys, The tracker beeps and says, "Hey, you don't have your phone with you." I do that actually more often. That happens more often. It also has a button I can press here that's going to make my phone scream, even if it's silent. The phone has a noise it'll play. So if I do leave my phone behind and I can't figure out where it is, I press the button on the tracker. Now I see, it's in the seat cushion, and I can retrieve it. So that's one of the things the tracker does. But it really does a lot more thanks to the popularity of the tracker. The tracker has the largest crowd-based GPS network of anybody. See, they've sold 3.5 million trackers. In fact, you can see the map if you go to the tracker.com of all the trackers out there in the world. Actually, it's kind of fun because you can watch the timeline. If we go back, this is beginning of October, and we play the movie, you could see how they're selling 100,000 trackers a month now. You could see the tracker map as they add trackers. Now, anytime your keys or whatever the tracker is attached to is in the vicinity, within 100 feet of somebody running the tracker software on their phone will say, "Oh, I see a tracker," and ping me. "Oh, that's Leo's tracker." It'll ping me and say, "Hey, we just saw your keys." So suddenly now you're seeing stuff everywhere, all over, and that really means that you can look for your keys anywhere in the world. With 3.5 million devices shipped, it's the largest crowd GPS network in the world. Go to thetracker.com. Never lose your possessions again. If you enter the offer code Windows, you're going to get a free Tracker Bravo with your order. That's a great deal. I should also mention that you can get these engraved. They have a waterproof cover. You could put it on Fido. You could have, the dog's name and phone number engraved on it, just like a regular tag. They also have these new UV LED images. You can print any image on there. This one, we've been getting the TWiT album art printed on ours. So this one has the TWiT album art, but you can engrave it too. That's pretty cool. So go to thetracker.com, and when you check out, use the promo code Windows, and they'll pop an extra free tracker right in your shopping cart. No cost to you. Thetracker.com, TheTrackr.com. And don't forget, you have to use the promo code Windows for 2 reasons. 1, to get a free Bravo, and 2, to let them know you heard it here. So Paul and Mary Jo get credit. Thetracker.com, promo code Windows. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. We're talking about Windows. And Satya Nadella is talking about Tim Cook, and man, are his ears burning. Whining. Where was this?
Satya Nadella is such a gentleman. I know. I wish he had been a little more aggressive. He was asked. He was asked again, same interview, about Microsoft's bets on 2-in-1 computers, and he said, take the Surface. 3 years ago, 2-in-1 as a form factor was questioned. Does anyone need one? And guess what? Now even our competition has decided that it's not a refrigerator and a toaster, but it's actually a 2-in-1, right? Which is a callback to Tim Cook's comments during a financial earnings call, where he referred to it as what did he say? He said anything can be forced to converge, but the problem is that products are about trade-offs. You can converge a toaster and a refrigerator, but those things are probably not going to be pleasing to the user.
You picked up on that. See, I didn't pick up on that at all. I didn't realize he was referring back to that.
Leo, I see insults and slights everywhere.
Well, no, it clearly was. I mean, but you just would have had to remember that analyst call.
Well, those were big comments at the time.
Yeah.
I thought that was, when he said that, the thing that went through my mind was, well, what about a toaster oven? I mean, those are 2 things that go well together.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Anyway, look, we've talked about this a lot. Microsoft didn't invent the 2-in-1 form factor, but they kind of formalized it with Surface. And now we do see the competition, not just Apple with the iPad Pro, but also Google with the Pixel C, creating these kind of 2-in-1 devices on their own platforms. And, I think the iPad Pro has a lot of maturing to do before it can catch up, but they're clearly going to do that work. And like you said earlier today, the goal, I think, is to get iOS mature to the point where they can get rid of the Mac. And if people need computer-type devices, they can add the keyboard to it and do that kind of work.
I have to say, when you look at the iPad Pro with a keyboard attached,
Yeah, look familiar?
And the keyboard is really the same as the Microsoft's Touch keyboard. And then you add the pencil. It looks like kind of an inelegant version of the Surface Pro, right? Like
it's V1. It's V1, right?
Yeah,
for Apple.
Not quite as good.
But we've seen this design before, and
I mean that's.
I think the keyboard gets better in Gen 2. I think one of the things they really screwed up, I think, on that one was the keyboard. But and of course, iOS doesn't support a pointing device.
Well, the real problem is iOS is not yet ready to be a desktop replacement.
Right.
I mean, they may say that this is your new laptop all they want, but
you're talking split screen, which is that snap feature that Windows 8
This is all
added.
you can do. I mean, I can't even do it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always work, and I mean, it's.
Yeah, you got to touch the screen.
There it is. I have to stretch it out.
Snap it, Leo.
Stretch it out. Now, by the way, add.
What is that thing what have you put on the side?
This is the stretched out thing. Oh, I see. I'm on that's a browser. So I'm in Safari. It's not. That's my fault. Okay, but let's go to.
But this is what you've just done is all you can do.
This
you
is
can
it.
Put two things
Right
next to each other.
Yep. This is it right here. That's the total sum of it, and it's kind of like Windows Snap without all the different.
Well,
places.
Windows Snap V1 was basically just split screen. Well, actually, no, it wasn't 50-50. Remember, it was.
Right. But good luck, by the way,
width.
putting two versions of Safari side by side.
Right.
So.
I mean, look, for a lot of people, that might be enough. You could have a browser window open. You could have a text editor on the other side or whatever.
Yeah. No, I can't. I can never figure it out.
No,
Plus, they put these things in some weird or it's not alphabetical. It's most recently used. Good luck finding. You have to do this to find the application you want to launch.
And it just works.
Yeah, it just works. just works. Carrie Fisher was surprised, by the way. So there you go. That's a CNN story, folks.
That's big news.
Big news.
I feel like Nadella is so scripted.
Late.
Isn't really the word I want, but
nice.
He has a set number of things he talks about. He commonly kind of brings up Microsoft themes like digital transformation and mobile first, cloud first. So whenever he says anything that's the least off script, it opens people up to like, whoa.
Well, I think that's why this was so interesting. This guy just asked him questions and he just kind of answered it. The one we had before, it was very familiar language, right? But he had never addressed this Tim Cook thing. And by the way, he wasn't even CEO when it happened. But talk about some corporate memory there, right? He's retained this. He said it. I mean, he didn't have to use the same phrase that Tim Cook said. He could just say, look, the fact that our competitors are making these devices proves that the form factor is real and it works. That's all he had to say. But he brought out the toaster and the refrigerator thing. I thought that was
surprising.
Very interesting. Yeah.
It's very non-Nadella.
Yeah.
And to be fair,
that's as close as he'll ever get.
This is not a toaster and a refrigerator. So Apple probably rethought that whole thing.
Is it a turkey and an eagle?
One flies, one can swim. We found out turkeys can swim.
Or what was the phrase? You can combine two turkeys, but you're not going to make an eagle.
Turkeys and an eagle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a firmware update on my Surface Book, by the way, like last week.
Yeah.
I was puzzled. It was an out-of-band update. What was that for? Do you know? Yeah,
I don't remember. Also, Surface Pro 3 recently got an update too. The Surface Book 1 was, it's not. It's hard to. It's
something.
I mean, there's an explanation for what the things are, but there's no real understanding of why.
Yeah, right. They tell you.
Improves system stability, reduces false touch events when the device is closed.
Wow.
Basic reliability stuff.
False touch events when the device is closed. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, you don't want stuff touching the screen when it's not on.
Well, isn't that the whole point of the close book? The closed-pin design is it that the keys don't touch?
Sure, but maybe a crumb gets in there and you launch like a purchase decision that you didn't mean to make.
Yeah, when it's closed, it shouldn't be. Yeah, no.
I had a crumb order a $3,000 Surface device that I didn't mean.
Here's the good news: it's on its way.
Yep.
Yep. Well, anyway, I got that. I have to say, I've been very happy with the Surface Book once they fixed the power issues. It's been great for me. I really like it.
That's a great device.
Yeah. And I I'll be honest, while I would love the new one, I don't feel any urge to upgrade, especially at that price.
No, I mean, if I were going to buy this thing myself, I'd buy the lowest end one, really. Yeah. I mean, I'd get it without the dedicated GPU. Right. Just a little bit of extra battery life, a little bit of simplicity, too, less stuff that can go wrong. It doesn't really have any direct benefit to what I do.
And the GPU is not enough to play high-end games or anything, so it's not like...
Well, not the original one, although I guess the newer one can play games pretty well.
Really?
You know, it's not a game machine, obviously.
No. It's not enough to do an Oculus Rift. We know that.
No. You probably need 2 USB ports to do an Oculus Rift. One thing.
Well, that too.
Oh, no, it has 2, actually.
Yeah,
it has 2.
It's got 2.
Yeah, probably not. I'm not... that I'm not sure about.
It needs a 960, a GTX 960 or above to do it. I don't think even this improved mobile GPU is that good.
Right.
Hey, speaking of which... I don't know if I mentioned it on this show. I've been very tempted by the PlayStation VR and the new Sony PlayStation Pro, but I'm holding out for the Scorpio. Yeah. I'm an Xbox guy. I'm through and through an Xbox guy. Although I did steal. So remember, I replaced my original Xbox One with a 1S.
Yes.
Took the Xbox One, gave it to my son. He's got it in his, gaming room, playroom. And I gave him the Kinect because it was already there. And I missed it because I like to say, Xbox pause.
I do too.
While I'm watching TV. So I bought, because I had missed the deadline for getting it for free. No, I bought the...
that was a tip.
Yeah, but I missed it because I didn't think I was going to use the Kinect on the 1S. So I had to buy the USB adapter.
You're right. You got the adapter for free, not the...
But I didn't get the adapter for free because I missed the deadline because I didn't know I was going to get it. I should have just got it just in case. Anyway.
Yeah.
I moved the Kinect back to the Xbox One S, which is nice. And then, so now I'm waiting for Scorpio. And do we have Project Scorpio deets?
No, but
No.
Phil Spencer from Xbox came out and talked about it a little bit. He was talking about how it will be a premium console, be more expensive than the Xbox One S. I mean, that stuff's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But the question is going to be where it falls. And I think there's a clue there if you look at the PlayStation 4 versus the PlayStation 4 Pro, right? One is $300, one is $400. But I think the Xbox Scorpio is going to be more expensive than $400. Ooh. I think it's going to be a higher end device than the PS4 Pro. It's going to do true 4K gaming. If you look at the kinds of PCs that can do this, they're not cheap. Right. And even a year from now, I'm thinking $500 minimum. For the Scorpio. I think it's going to be a full meal deal kind of thing.
See, I have a 4K TV and I want the native 4K.
Yeah.
Will it have the UHD Blu-ray player in it? I presume it will.
They haven't said, but I
would hope so. And the real reason I decided to wait is because I want to use it with HoloLens. And I still think there'll be some sort of AR, VR.
I do too. In fact, I'm wondering if this thing they've been talking about for Windows 10 won't be, in fact, what they do for the for the Xbox Scorpio. That range of devices from all the PC makers, it's based on Windows 10. I mean, why not just why would they have a different variant of VR/AR for Scorpio? Why not just use the same stuff?
Right.
And so there's that's me speculating again, but that seems like the common sense thing to do.
Yeah. I think so.
So we'll see. But
we didn't mention, we should mention the Black Friday deals for the Surface and the Surface Book. They're taking $100 off.
You have to really pay attention to the deals because they're specific for each device. There's a specific, all of the Surface Pro 4 models are on sale. Well, all of the Core i5 and Core i7 versions of Surface Pro 4 are on sale. But if you buy one of the versions of Surface Pro 4, you actually get you can get a type cover for just $50, and that kind of becomes the sweet spot. And so I have an article about all the price changes there. You should look at that stuff. And on the Surface Book side, the base version of Surface Book, which off the top of my head I believe is Core i5, 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gigs of storage, and no GPU, normally is $1,500, but it's $250 off. So now that's $1,250. Obviously, the keyboard and everything comes with it, not like Surface Pro 4. The pen comes with it. That puts Surface Pro or Surface Book into semi-affordable pricing category with the obvious understanding that $1,250 is a lot of money. But a comparable device like the recently released HP Spectre X360, which doesn't have active pen support, but is smaller and lighter and, has some interesting aspects of its own, is I want to say the equivalent version is about $1,050. So it's still $200 less, but it used to be $450 less, right? And so when you make that kind of a comparison now, you get the pen with the Surface Book, that's a $60 value. So now we're talking about $140. Surface Book has a bigger screen, higher resolution screen, touch. Actually, I'm sorry, X360 has touch. I happen to prefer the keyboard on the Surface Book, but both of them are excellent. The Spectre X360 has 2 USB-C ports. We haven't done that yet on Surface Book, so you can kind of go back and forth on it. But if you're in the market for a premium laptop over $1,000, those are 2 really, really good choices. And the Surface Book used to not be part of that conversation because it was so expensive. And it will be again after November 28th when it goes back to the normal price.
That's good, though. I think that's
I'd like to see this be the price. This makes Surface Book a conversation.
It's much more attractive, Yeah. It's still way premium.
Yep.
And there's a holiday update for Minecraft.
Oh, for Minecraft, yeah. I don't even understand Minecraft. This is so goofy. Well, they talk about things like in that picture there, you can see a guy flying through the air, and so one of the things that's in this update is it's called an elytra, I guess, and it's basically a glider you can equip yourself with and you can fly around.
Oh yeah. They've had this must be. I've seen that.
Well, this is for consoles, right?
This is the console version is getting a desktop version feature. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 3 basic versions of Minecraft. There's the desktop version, there's the consoles version, and then there's the Pocket Edition, which is for the mobile devices. And so this is something coming in December.
Yeah, because
it's for the console, so both Xbox and PlayStation. Yeah.
The Elytra.
Yeah. So they're only talking about a few things here. They're going to reveal more about this next month.
Dragon's
Breath.
But
I think they're just trying to get people excited for it.
Dragon's Breath will create lingering potions. Ooh.
See, I don't even understand why they have to explain that. Obviously, Dragon's Breath creates lingering potions.
Oh man, the thing we talked about at the start of the show, Cobalt is the code name for the X86 thing. So somebody said to me, "Oh, Cobalt is something from Minecraft." So I put that in the original story, and then suddenly all the Minecraft people were like, "No, Cobalt's not in Minecraft. It's in the Nether." It's in the Nether.
You have to go to the Nether to get to Cobalt.
I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
You really, Mary Jo, I think you really don't understand.
At the latest meeting of the Guild, we discussed this very topic.
Yes, I can't believe you even thought that.
That is exactly what I got.
Mary Jo's not a real tech person. I don't understand.
My favorite one, which I get all the time, is you're not a gamer. You're not a gamer. And I don't know. I guess the definition of gamer is you don't obsessively play the game I play. So
by the way, I get the same thing, and I'll
You're
respond
clearly a gamer.
I pay 200 hours of Call of Duty every week, and they're like, yeah, but you play Call of Duty.
It's not a game. I'm sorry.
Call of Duty's a game.
It's not a game. I think you're mistaken.
You're right. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I found out? This is you'll both be interested, and you may know this already. Cobalt is another game that Mojang published, and that seems to be where the codename comes from. Not the Nether. But
the Cobalt comes from the Nether. It's part of the Nether region.
Yeah, what is the Nether? What is that?
So
what does it even
in Minecraft, you have 3 different worlds. Okay, you have your basic, your above land world. That's okay. You can get that. You can get clay. You can get coal. You can get sand. You can get gold. But you can't get redstone's very popular. But you have to if you want. There's 2 other worlds. There's the Nether and the End.
Okay.
And you have to go to the Nether to get the Cobalt.
You know who I asked to get the final word was
your 12-year-old nephew. Oh, Chad would know. Yeah.
I'm like, Chad.
He's all our 12-year-old nephew. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
So, that's just another land.
Okay, good to know. Now I know. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I actually haven't played that much Minecraft lately. I'm going back to Skyrim because they released a HD version of Skyrim for the Xbox One, and I'm back and fighting dragons. It's so much fun.
Nice.
Love
Dragon's
that game.
breath, getting your potions going.
Yeah, no, I have Dragon's Breath. You would know that if you were a gamer. Clearly, you're not a gamer.
Boy.
Woohoo! Well, I've just been brought pizza and salad, so you guys can talk amongst yourselves while I dine on the fine Italian specialty.
Wow.
All right. Nice.
Wow.
All right.
Wednesday is free lunch day at TWiT. Did you know that?
No.
If you're going to come to TWiT, come on Wednesday because we feed the staff. We're not like one of them big Silicon Valley companies that has a in-house
I mean,
chef.
sushi? What are we talking about?
Yeah,
here?
no. In this case, pizza and salad. But if you worked at Google, they'd have 15 different restaurants and executive chefs.
We saw this. Yep.
Yeah. This is not like that.
What was that soup I had? You didn't have this. It was like a peanut butter. It was like a peanut soup.
Oh, Lord.
It was some African peanut soup type thing, or Southeast.
So hipster. It's
I was like,
made
is there Google Stardust in this? Is this going to make me want to sign up for Google Apps or something? Like,
I love it. We do offer free snacks all year round, however.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
We have a lot of snacks. And when we run out of snacks, we go, time for Debbie to make a Costco run. Got to get more pork rinds. They actually have out in the commissary, I love calling it that. It's not the hall.
Sure.
They've got 2 candy machines, where you put a quarter in and you turn the knob. But first of all, you don't have to put a quarter in, you just turn the knob. And one of them has goldfish in it, not real goldfish, the Pepperidge Farm goldfish. And the other one has like animal crackers in it. I've never seen those used for that.
Nope.
No. It's what happens when you hire people in their 20s.
Leo, they have a machine like that at the Google office, but it has dongles in it. And I'm not joking.
No,
It's
really?
literally,
You turn it, you get a USB port.
And what's funny about it is they have
hysterical.
prices on the little, panels where you see the items, but everything's free.
Oh.
So if you need like a USB-C to USB-A or a video out for whatever, they have them in a vending machine.
That's hysterical.
But it's really free. Yeah,
it's
free.
free. That's brilliant. We ought to do that. We ought to do that.
I took a picture of it. I don't think I posted that one. But.
We would just stock it with all the cables that we used to have in the basement. So if you need a SCSI cable or a parallel port printer cable, we got them.
Yep.
And they're free. All right, I'm going to do something. One thing we do have in the studio is a lot of bandwidth. Let me just go. I love doing this to fast.com and just see how the bandwidth weather report is today.
You're
Now,
killing me, Leo.
I know. I know. This is a Netflix bandwidth test just to see if you can get 4K video from Netflix. Now, we have more than this. It's just that this machine only has a gigabit port. So 930 megabits per second.
That's over 10 times my internet.
And it's symmetric, by the way. We can upload at that speed as well.
Yeah, mine's symmetric too. But but serious.
That's because we got Sonic, baby. I wish you could get Sonic where you are. They sell gigabit Ethernet for a price you will not believe. Sonic is available to many areas in California. One of the reasons we're thrilled to have them as a partner is they have supplied us with, get this, 10 gigabit fiber to the premises. And there's no machines in the house that can use 10 gigabits. But when we put it on our gigabit machines, we get a gigabit, 930 megabits. That's the extra 70 is just overhead. It's just amazing. The internet infrastructure in the U.S. needs fixing. Too many people paying too much for crappy, it says unsatisfactory here, but I'm going to say the real word, crappy cable internet. Sonic is turning that all on its head, and we need to support Sonic because they are the ISP that fights for you. 5 stars from the EFF for standing up for their customers. Fast, affordable internet, phone and TV too, to businesses and homes all over California. What do you get? Okay, how much would you pay for this? Gigabit, okay, gigabit internet. It's not symmetric, but I mean it's like 15 or 20 up. It's plenty up. 15 email accounts, a gigabyte of storage, personal web hosting with a new domain, fax line service, home phone that includes unlimited local and long distance calling, And by the way, number portability applies. You can bring your home phone number over. And all of that, how much would you pay? $40 a month. $40 a month. This is how it should be. And I talked to Dane Jasper. We did a triangulation with him. He's the founder of Sonic. I've been a Sonic customer since he founded it forever. And I said, you must lose money on this. He said, we don't. It's predicated on getting a certain population density in an area, certain percentage of 5 sign up. But if 5% in an area sign up, we make money on it. So you have to ask yourself, why are we all paying so much more for cable internet that's so much less? And they stand up for privacy. They fight government requests. They don't have bandwidth caps. At home, I can't get Sonic. At home, I have Comcast. Just got my notice. Leo, you're 10% over your terabyte a month. It's going to cost you. Not here. I'm just going to move my TV, my living room, my man cave to the studio and just do everything here from now on. Sonic's consumer advocacy, paving the way for a better state of internet all across the country. If you can get Sonic in your area, get it. And if you can't, just pat on the back to Sonic for doing a great job. Join the internet revolution, showing the way, really. Sonic.com/twit. Sonic, Sonic.com/twit. Get your first month of Sonic internet and phone service free. Plus, bundle it with Dish, and you'll get $120 off your Sonic bill. Visit Sonic.com/twit. And, send him a note and say, thank you for standing up for real people. Sonic.com/twit. Time for the back of the book. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. Let's kick off with you, Paulie. And your tip of the week.
What do I have today? So tip of the week is if you have Cortana and you live in the United States and you speak English, sadly, you can now use Cortana to make to-do lists. And if you use Wunderlist, which I suspect some Cortana users do.
A Microsoft company now.
Yep. You can integrate those to-do lists into Wunderlist. And so we'll actually go back and forth that way. So it works like you would expect. Hey, Cortana, create a shopping list. Hey, Cortana, create a whatever list. So it's just a new skill for Cortana.
Very nice.
And then on the on the app pick side, Microsoft today announced the release of the Microsoft Solitaire Collection for Android and iOS. So if you thought Office for iPad was a big deal, now you can get Solitaire.
I'm actually
it's free.
Excited about that. Believe it or not. Is it Spider Solitaire? Which Solitaire is it?
It's this 6 variants of, or maybe 5 variants of, let me look at the list. I know Free Cell is one of them. Klondike, Pyramid, Spider, and Tri-Peaks.
Oh, I love those.
So this isn't the classic Windows app. This is the Windows 10 app, which means there are ads and stuff like that. But you can actually subscribe. You can subscribe to Solitaire Premium Edition, which is $2 a month. And you don't get ads, and you get some other benefits as well. But people on iOS and Android who try this app can get Premium Edition free for the through the end of the year. So there's $2 of your life that you'll never have to worry about getting back. If you want to give it a try. And then on the App-Raised and Mobile App Pick of the Week, it's actually a set of apps, and all of them come free in Windows 10. But I find this very interesting. Over the past few weeks, a bunch of app updates have been tested through the Insider program, and now they've made their way out into the world, and there's some pretty cool stuff. And so MSN News and Weather, and I think MSN Sports will be getting this soon, support what's called chaseable live tiles. So if you think about how a live tile works, it kind of cycles between 5 screens, or it can. And so for like a news app, you might have 5 news stories, and so it has maybe a picture, a little headline, and then it cycles to the next one. And so now if you click on that tile, it will go to the story that you were looking at the time. This is a feature you don't want on all apps, obviously, but you could imagine an email app cycling through your emails. And when you see the one you want, you click on it and it opens that email rather than just going to the inbox, which, by the way, doesn't work. I just made that one up. But that's what chaseable tiles are. The Photos app got some awesome new editing features. And then the Mail and Calendar app, this actually happened a week or so ago, but they got interactive notifications. And so much like you would do with like an SMS type of thing, you can interact with an email like right from the live, not from the live tile, sorry, from the notification that pops up. And so every one of these things is just an app that's included in Windows 10. I suspect a lot of Windows 10 users kind of skip over this stuff and use whatever they're using. But it's interesting to me as these things mature, and I mentioned this in brief earlier, that I think the app story, like the inbox app story, as we would call it, the apps that come in the box with Windows 10, have actually gotten pretty mature. I mean, some of them are pretty sweet. I think, Mary Jo, I think you use the mail and calendar apps, don't you?
Yes, I
do. For example. I don't, but I know a lot of people do, and I know a lot of people also ignore them. So it may be time to check them out because a lot of them are getting a lot better than they used to be.
They are.
I think that's kind of important, frankly. Those generally are the ones people are going to try first, consumers anyway.
And it might incite you to look at the store. And if you're a developer, it could give you ideas about how you might want to make your own apps more sophisticated as well.
I think it's funny because Apple started this. I think Apple had default apps. Like they have a default mail app that everybody just uses on the Mac.
Right.
Originally, Microsoft had like accessories, right?
Yeah.
Minesweeper and Solitaire and stuff.
Sure.
Notepad.
You know, that were really not full-featured apps. But then with Windows
Live, no one would ever use these apps, ever.
Yeah, but with Windows, nobody'd write a whole story in Notepad, would it?
No one would use Microsoft Paint every day to create graphics for their website. That's
crazy talk. Well, that's what happened is Windows Movie Maker and then Paint and Mail with the live apps, and it started getting better and better. And I think this is the natural culmination of that. They should be good. Right. They should be very good.
Yep.
In a lot of cases on the Macintosh, they killed the market for mail apps,
by the way,
instance, by being good.
If you haven't changed it, if you open the Windows 10 Start menu, you can see what your most used apps are. And my number 2 most used app is Paint.
Wow. Wait till the 3D Paint gets here. You're going to love it.
I know.
We're going to see all the graphics on Thurrott.com.
Yep, you're going to wear glasses.
3D.
Coming right at you.
Yep.
Mary Jo Foley kicks things off with her Enterprise tip of the week or pick of the week.
So last week when we were in Amsterdam, I noticed I was having problems with my Outlook on Android, and I couldn't really switch very quickly between the different accounts I had. I couldn't see my folders, and I was like, oh, wow, I guess it's because I'm in Europe. When I came back, I was still having the same thing, and I was not the only one, it turns out. There are many people who've been having syncing issues with Outlook.com, Outlook Mobile, and also non-Outlook mail clients that use Exchange Active Sync, I believe, like for the past week or longer. So people have been having all kinds of issues. In some cases, they couldn't get their mail at all. In some cases, sync was very slow. In some cases, they couldn't do what I couldn't do, which is switch between folders and accounts. And so I contacted Microsoft about this yesterday, and so did another colleague of mine at ZDNet. And it turns out they know that this has been an issue, and they've been trying to fix it for a week. As of today, which is the 23rd, they're starting to roll out what they say is a fix to the syncing issues. And they think this is going to fix all the different problems with all the different variations of Outlook and non-Outlook clients that are having problems in this area. So we'll see. I just checked my Outlook as the show was starting, and I'm still having the issue. So I'm hoping this fix will come soon, and it will fix my issues with Outlook Mobile, because I've had really good luck with Outlook Mobile on Android. I haven't had almost any complaints with this, and this has been kind of a downer for the past week, I have to say. I really was wondering what was going on, and now, well, we don't really know. We don't know what caused it or what's going on, but now we know Microsoft at least knows and is working on a fix.
It's kind of no coincidence that the worst outages were right where Paul and Mary Jo were last week.
I know, look at that thing. That's actually Mary Jo's phone.
It is. I think it is
that red thing in the middle.
It's the geographic distribution is kind of odd.
That is hilarious.
Like nothing in the West Coast, but a little bit in the kind of Atlantic states.
You may literally be the only person using this app.
No, there are many. There are many of us.
You got to think
that is amazing.
Yeah, a little bit contributed to that dark red blob over the Netherlands.
She's like just kept hitting like resync.
I did. I kept like shutting my phone off, turning it back on. I'm like, what is going on with my Outlook?
All right. So look for the fix. It's coming.
Look for the fix. Yep.
And your code name of the week?
Yeah, this is a code name from actually 2011, I believe, that we've heard on and off. The code name is Drawbridge, and Drawbridge is a technology that Microsoft Research developed. If you know about operating systems and concepts in operating systems, it's the library OS concept that Microsoft evolved to make Drawbridge. So what that is a kind of a form of virtualization that's very specific to application sandboxing. So we knew that Microsoft used some of the concepts in Drawbridge to get the Bash shell to work on Windows 10, But it turns out they also used Drawbridge to bring SQL Server to Linux. And this is very interesting that they went this route, because it makes me wonder if they are going to bring some of their other apps to Linux too, like Exchange maybe, if there's demand for that, or even Skype for Business. Right now, as far as I know, the only server app that they brought over using some of this application sandboxing technology is SQL Server. But why not bring over some of the other ones?
There's a huge demand for a working Skype on Linux.
There's a huge demand for
There's a
working
huge demand for a working Skype
Period.
everywhere, Leo.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is how they brought Visual Studio over to the Mac. Is it limited to Linux
because
and Windows?
I think no, Visual Studio for Mac is actually not what you think it is. It's not the full-fledged Visual Studio ported to Mac.
Oh.
It's the renamed Xamarin Studio that they now are calling Visual Studio for Mac.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not confusing.
No. Right. But yeah, it's interesting because Drawbridge was one of those things. I remember we started reporting on it, and I'm like, are they ever going to do anything with Drawbridge? And now, 5 years later, we're seeing they are doing a lot of things with Drawbridge.
And we all know what lives under Drawbridges.
Yes. Linux trolls.
Trolls. Time for some beer. Let's have some beer. Is this something you had in the Netherlands?
It is. In fact, I think it was one of our last beers when we were there.
Aw. Our last beer.
So delicious.
This beer, we all agreed, was one of our most awesome beers. It's called the Westmalle Tripel, or Triple, however you want to pronounce that, known as the mother of all triples from the Westmalle Abbey Trappist monks. So if you like tripels,
I love triples. I love them.
This beer. It was like so smooth and creamy, and it was like everything you want in a triple and more. And we had it our last night when we were in Harlem at a bar we christened the Town Pump 2, or no, Town Pump, after a bar that Paul and his colleagues go to in Colorado called the Town Pump. So we went there so many times we started calling it the Town Pump of Harlem.
That nobody in Harlem understood what you were saying.
No, they didn't appreciate
you were insane.
the name.
Yeah.
So the bartenders did remember us. They're like, "Oh, you guys were here last night." Yeah, we were.
Did you have this in the bottle or on draft?
We had this in the bottle. And we
what
also
this says is kind of interesting, that the different size bottles get a different kind of flavor.
Yeah. We had it in a bottle, and they poured it into this chalice that said Westmalle on it, and it was like the perfect beer.
Mary Jo was trying to stick it in her purse.
I was.
Oh, man. I wonder, can I get this in the States, you think?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I've seen it in the States.
Oh, I want to try it. In fact, the triples.
We were surprised by this because we both have almost certainly had this before.
I know.
And yet we had somehow never checked it into Untapped.
I know.
Well, you're probably too drunk. So it says that the bottles are the size of the glass goblets, 33 centiliters.
Yeah.
But they will also sell it to you in a 75 centiliter bottle, which tastes different. The beer matures differently in these larger bottles, they say. The fruity aroma is somewhat softer and riper, and the beer gets a light touch of vanilla. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that is. That's interesting.
And I don't know how draft would change it one way or the other, because I guess you're aging that in a keg, right?
Yeah. Or maybe, I wonder how they do that. That's an interesting question.
Unless
we also
there's
have
somebody down in the basement of the bar that's pouring little 75 centiliter bottles
right into a line.
Right. Just keep pouring.
Oh, I want to. You're making me thirsty. I think this would be good for tomorrow.
Yes.
For our Thanksgiving dinner.
You could dip your turkey in that. It would be fantastic.
We're having a ham. I ordered a ham, a 7-pound half ham from Harrington's of Vermont, smoked over corn cobs and maple.
Wow.
So, but I think that's going to be
not over Stroop syrup. Leo? That's non-traditional.
Stroop. It's so this is a country ham. It's a dry aged smoked ham, and so it's going to be saltier. So I think we're going to need an extra bottle of Westmalle Tripel.
I think you do,
or two.
Maybe.
Or 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I want this. I'm going to go to the store.
It was so good.
I hope
it was good.
Petaluma Market.
If you have a
some.
good beer place, they'll
Petaluma
have this.
Market, they have a lot of good stuff.
That's where I get my triples. They have that
Right.
white bottle triple that you introduced me to. I can't remember what the name of that was.
You can find this.
It was so good.
I think you can find.
Tastes like chocolate milk for adults.
It's the elixir of the gods,
The
Leo.
elixir of the gods. This show is the podcast of the gods.
Yeah.
Yes, and you guys are going to have Thanksgiving tomorrow. You're at your sister's, Mary Jo. It's going to be a big gathering.
Yep, like 40 people.
What?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
The whole
It's
Foley
big.
clan.
All the foliage will be there.
The foliage.
It's the fall foliage.
Yes.
That's
Do you
good.
do that? Do you call it that? It's awesome.
We do. Yep.
Oh, I love it. Well, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Paul, are you having Thanksgiving at home or are you going out? What are you doing?
Yeah, the question, Leo, isn't whether someone's going to cry. It's how many people are going to cry.
Well, how many people are going to be at dinner?
Oh, not that many,
Yeah.
like 8 or 10. It's not a big thing like that.
So we have a very divided family, not internally. Lisa and I are in alignment, but the rest of the family, and so I don't think it's a coincidence. We've invited everybody, and everybody has declined.
Yikes.
Oh.
So I have a 7-pound ham for 3 people, which some might say is, I think the old saying is, eternity is a ham and 2 people.
It's also a day in Oklahoma.
Right. Ham salad, gonna have hamburgers, gonna have biscuits and ham, and I'm gonna make red eye gravy, which I think will be good. But so in other words, you're invited.
Oh, thanks.
You decide to
We're
run
doing
away.
the traditional turkey thing, so
Are
you
you?
likewise are invited.
Yeah. Well, see, I felt like we did a ham and a turkey last year, and it went over well.
Yeah.
And this time, since there's so few people, I just eliminated the turkey. Everybody has a turkey.
Sure.
But we will be having ham sandwiches for the next few years.
Yeah, you will.
So,
Maybe somebody will
Anyway.
figure out like a sushi Thanksgiving thing.
oh, wouldn't that be fun?
I'm making a tofu and glazed mushroom thing as mine.
Yikes.
Are you can't be the only vegetarian in that whole bunch.
No, there's one other in my family.
Oh, the
Yep.
2 of you will be so cute together sitting on the
We will.
children's table.
Mary Jo is my daughter's role model now. My daughter is vegetarian, and to discover that there were intelligent adults that follow this path as well was
Paul,
very helpful.
every daughter is a vegetarian. This is a
Yeah,
rite of
it's a good
passage.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but she's
Some of us
she's
stick
been doing
with
it for a
it.
while.
Some of them stay that way.
Yep.
Yep.
Good for her. No, I think that's great. I would be a vegetarian if I could.
Yeah.
I try to eat as little animal products as I can.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, a ham with my name comes along.
Yeah. I just couldn't.
Anyway,
I like the animal parts that other people don't even eat. I mean,
brains.
yeah, I've had brains, I've
Thyroid
had eyes, I've had
glands.
cheeks and tongues and every kind of internal organ meat you can imagine. I mean,
They call them sweetbreads so you won't know.
yeah,
what
sweetbreads
it
are
is.
the best.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded the pre-Thanksgiving festivities. You may now go watch the Macy's parade, enjoy a fine football game or
Right.
2 or 3,
Yeah.
dine on ham and stuffing
Yep.
till you can't keep your eyes open. Let the L-tryptophan overdose begin.
Yep.
We will be back next week. If the good Lord willing and the creeks don't rise, we will be here every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1900 UTC. Please come by, say hi. We'd love to see you. If you can't join us in live, you can always get on demand at twit.tv/WW or youtube.com/Windows Weekly Show and all the other places. All our shows are, on all the various programs, and there's programs for podcasts and for TWiT itself on every platform. So please get one of them, subscribe. Don't miss an episode because really this is the place to go to keep up on everything Microsoft. I think you guys do an amazing job. And I look forward to this every week. Thank you. Beautiful thing. Have a great, holiday. You know what? I'm going to send you some ham.
Yes, yeah, right. What's this strange wet package?
Ew.
I won't send it to you, Mary Jo. Don't worry.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.